Dreamweavers, welcome back to the channel. Natalie here. Today is just a PSA for you, about people pleasing, over functioning. Many of us Pisces are over functioners, and we don't realize that we've been doing it. We don't realize that we've been and what does that mean to overfunction, right? It comes in a lot of ways. It comes in people pleasing. It comes in finding, always like finding what other people are, knowing what other people need and doing that for them before they even ask, right? And then finding also just not being able to find a place where you can rest, because rest means that you're being lazy for some reason that we've been taught. And I've heard people say that this is due to our capitalist society where, when you go to work, you can't even take a day off, right? Because if you call in sick, or if you call in sick too often, you are now considered a problem, right? You're not allowed to be sick. There are many people that go into work every day. They don't feel well, but they get up, they go to work, and they function as best as possible because they can't afford to lose their job. And there's a threat to losing your job for being sick too often, which is a very sad place to be. It's almost borderline abusive. It is abusive because it's almost like you're trained to abuse yourself. You're trained to abuse your own body for the sake of somebody else's gain, right? And that's part of what people pleasing is, right? That's why we eventually have meltdowns. Like, we get to the point where we can't do it anymore, where you're exhausted, right? Because you're running around taking care of everyone else but yourself. You're everything else, the job, the kids, the husband, and this goes for men also. Men struggle with the same thing. It's the society that we live in. I see many videos with the definition of overfunctioning, but I don't really see women describe how overfunctioning has really affected them. How people pleasing has affected them. Maybe even from childhood, how has people pleasing affected you? When I think of it, the society causes, it causes even your parents, right, at a young age. Think about this. Think about the effects of your parents having to go to work and they can't be sick, right? Because they can't take a day off. Now, can they afford for their kids to be sick? Can they? If they can't even be sick, can they afford, and after they've taken all the sick days that they can for their kids, right? Then it's a problem. They become a problem. So then you get taught as the kid that you're not allowed to be sick. You're not allowed to speak up. They don't want to hear about you being sick. They don't want to hear about you, you're taught to just be quiet and do as they say, because this is how their life, this is the approach that's being taken on their life, is that that had been taken on their life. Like, they had to be quiet and just keep going. They have to go to work no matter what happens, no matter what the boss says or does, or no matter what people do or the way they treat you, like you just got to shut up and go to work because you need your job, and don't be sick, because if you're sick, you know, and if you talk too much, we can replace you. So, you know, and I don't know if we're going to see a lot of that. If that's going to get more intense now with the way things are going, I don't know. But what I can say is that we need to find a way to teach our children and to teach ourselves, to find a way to almost exit that rat race, right? Many YouTubers are here for that reason, right? They're doing the grind, finding a way where they can dictate how they live their life, because if they need a day off, they can take a day off. That they, you know, like I just had like a few days where I was, you know, I just needed some downtime. So I took downtime from YouTube, but I didn't take downtime from my job. I still had to get up and work. Because if I don't do my full-time job, I don't get paid. My bills don't get paid. If I keep not showing up for work, then they'll replace me. And, you know, this is maybe the biggest realization, the biggest awakening that I am having as to how one thing has perpetuated the other. You know, that sometimes we blame our parents and we have trauma responses and we blame our parents for how we were treated, but this is a line. Then we talk about generational trauma. Just generations of our parents and our foreparents being treated this way and being groomed in this way. I call it a grooming because it is a grooming in how we live life, how we see life, what we think is normal, and then we accept it. We accept the over-functioning as normal. And you know, your parents basically teach you to anticipate what they need, because they don't have time to anticipate what they need. And if you're naturally an empath, this results in over-functioning for you, because you naturally, everyone wants to keep their environment as stable as possible. And when you figure, hey, if I over function, if I keep anticipating what they need, then life will be stable. I can maintain some type of homeostasis. And then you find, then the needle moves, right? And then you can't anymore. And then there's something else. And then you have more people in your life, or you have children, yourself, or you have a spouse. Then you start anticipating what everybody needs. And who's anticipating what you need as the empath? And I was watching a video of a woman who was talking about how she was out, I forget where she was. She was in the city somewhere. It was broad daylight, and she almost got abducted because she didn't listen to her spidey senses at first. And she didn't listen, you know, and I'm going to show you that video, because when we overfunction and we're so more focused on pleasing the other as opposed to listening to ourselves, we end up not listening to our spidey senses, and we end up in situations that leave us very vulnerable and compromise our safety. And this is something I think, you know, we need to teach our kids from when they're young. You know, speaking up and saying no is not just about being defiant or about being mean. It's about acknowledging what makes you safe. What's safe for you and what's not safe for you. It's about acknowledging that gut feeling, your spidey senses, because your gut is your second brain. And sometimes, you know, before your brain tells you that, oh, you shouldn't do that, you'll get that feeling in the pit of your gut. Have any of you ever had that? You'll get that feeling in the pit of your gut and you just know something's wrong. And sometimes you overlook it. You overlook that feeling in the pit of your gut that says, no, I don't want to do this. No, this doesn't feel safe for me. No, I am exhausted and I don't have the bandwidth for this. You ignore it so that you can make someone else feel better. And the lesser of the evils is that this leaves you feeling resentful, which is not a high vibrational energy, right? Which puts you in survival mode, but doesn't compromise you in ways that it can with a stranger. You know, sometimes when there's stranger danger, that gut feeling kicks in, but the inability to say no will allow you to get into a situation where maybe it's too late when your brain kicks in and says, I need to get out of here. You need to get out of here. You know? And I'm sure there are many people that have been in that situation before. I know I have. I've had multiple situations, starting from being a young child, right? And you know, the society that we live in also, as I mentioned from the beginning, that, you know, this starts with our parents and our grandparents and the way that they are groomed, right? Because they have to go to work. They don't have time to listen to your grievances. They don't have time to listen to your problems. They don't have time to listen to you being sick. And I'm not saying that they don't take care of you when you are sick, but they don't have time to take days off to take care of you when you're sick. And it's a shame. So you learn not to tell your parents when you're sick. You learn to just be quiet because you could see that your parents are already stressed out. So when something's happening with you, you learn not to share it with them. And when you're younger, that can turn into you parenting your parent. But as you get older, then you're parenting everybody else that's in your life, everybody else that you've brought into your life, right? Whether it's your children, your own children, you know, because you don't know how to stop. And we pass some of those same behaviors onto our children because it's inevitable. I have to go to work every day. Like I said, I just took a few days off of YouTube. I could not take a few days off of work and say, oh, you know what? I need a break. Yeah, I can take vacation, right? But how many days vacation? I was reading a book that says we need we should be blocking 150 days of downtime on our calendar. Who does that? Who really does that? 150 days of downtime. Can you take 150 days of downtime away from work? The average person gets like 15 days, 10 to 15 days a year of vacation time. The rest of the time you're a workhorse. That's why authenticity is needed, right? Because of course, you know, initially you're not just gonna get up and quit your job, right? Like that's somewhere, but where is it that you can say no? Are you picking up a lot of extra at work and you're not getting the extra for it? You're overworking yourself at work, you're overworking yourself at home, you're picking up all the slack. Where do you draw the line and say, I need rest today? These hours, I need rest. And rest might not just be sleeping. Rest might be like, I need rest. I'm going to read a book. I'm just going to do something I love to do. Something that fills my soul. You know, being authentic just means living in your truth. And sometimes the truth is that, yeah, I do have to go to work. That's my truth, right? But here's the thing. When you start living in your truth, you can change your truth. You can start to create the environment that you want for yourself a little bit at a time. If you're always living in somebody else's reality of what they're telling you things should be, then you never get a chance to create your own reality. You never get a chance to create your own truth. That's what stepping into your authentic self is all about. That's what being authentically her is all about. Because listen, before I created this channel, you know, I was like people pleasing like you would not believe. I was doing things and allowing people to talk to me in ways that you would probably just shake your head at, right? And the thing is that it doesn't matter who it is that's talking to you. You set a standard for yourself about how they get to talk to you. Whether it's at work, whether it's at home. Now you can't dictate how people talk to you, right? Like I can't make someone talk to me a certain way. I'm not, but I can respond. I can let them know it's not acceptable, and then I can make a decision about how I'm going to respond to that, and in turn deal with that. You know, even at work. And sometimes, you know, we feel like we're at work and we don't have the ability to tell someone that their behavior is not appropriate. We don't have, because if we tell them, then if we say something, then we're gonna look like we're the problem, right? And we don't want to be screaming at people, because screaming at people is gonna make you look like you're the problem, because now you're screaming. Now your vibration is low, and so no one's gonna listen. But you have to be able to tell someone like and come from a place of love, and come also from a place of what is it that I'm trying to do, and what is it that I'm trying to get out of this, right? Because if it's, especially in a work environment, right? In a work environment, you are, I'm trying to get my work done. So I need to remember that even though I can be cordial and nice with the people at work, I am there to do a job. What is the job that I'm I'm trying to do, because other than doing work, I don't have to talk to people at work, right? So if someone is being nasty and they're just being nasty and saying nasty things, that's an HR issue, right? But when someone is interacting with you in the work environment in a way that is not acceptable, right? Now I get to call you out, because I need to get my, especially if what you're doing and what you're saying is hindering me doing my job. I will call you out on it. But in the past, I would not. I would just be like, oh, I don't know what to do, and be sad and crying. And once I realized that, no, we're going to separate things. Work is work. And whatever the person says or does is not a reflection on me. The only reflection on me is am I able to do my job? And is the person's behavior affecting my job? Once your behavior affects me doing my job, it's on. Game on. And that's a new way of being for me. That wasn't always it. And when I say game on, it's not like I'm retaliating, but no, it's game on, because now you've given me an in to speak up, because this is no longer about me being catty. You are hindering my ability to do my job. And so, I mean, we just have to look at it in different ways, because other than doing my job, I don't, like, if I have somebody at work that's nasty, I don't have to talk to them. I just have to talk to them, as it relates to work. Right? We don't have to be besties at work. Actually, you shouldn't be besties with anyone at work. That brings up a lot of problems, but that's a topic for another day. I'm not besties with anybody at work. I'm cordial. I'm respectful. I appreciate everyone's issues, but I'm not there to take on all your personal issues, all your work issues. No. If you need help, I'm there to help. I'm more than happy to help. So, a lot of this is about boundaries and listening to yourself, things that we have, it's like that those parts of us as a child that were taken away, the ability to listen to yourself. Whether it's through abuse and you just hiding out and learning that it's safer not to speak up, right? But is it really? Is it really safer not to speak up? How many of you have been in situations where you didn't speak up and the situation got worse? If you speak up, people may think, oh, I don't like her, or I don't like him. But you know what? I prefer if someone doesn't like me. It's okay if you don't like me, if you respect me. Be respectful. I'll take that over you liking me. You don't have to like me. Because being the want to be liked is what leads us into these situations where people take advantage of us, because people know they have spidey senses. Everyone has spidey senses. They can sense what you want. And so, then the games start, right? Like the give and take. Oh, I like you. I'm available. I'm not available. You get a lot of wishy-washy people in your life, right? People sometimes just tell you what you want to hear. Sometimes they play on that weakness where they threaten to take away something that they know that you really want, that leaves you feeling hurt, right? But once you realize that you're not there to be friends, you're not there to please anymore, life really changes. Life really changes. And you know, I may be rambling right now, but I think like this is a huge part of what many of us are finding out, that life is changing. Like there's this we're learning to sit with those parts of us that sometimes feel empty, right? And we're learning to fill it with the right things. We're learning to fill it not with shopping, not with overdoing for others, or people pleasing, alcohol, drugs. And when you learn to just sit with that energy as that feeling comes, because a lot of us have used so many things to numb that feeling in the past. I know I have, you know, and when they say that, you know, when you drink too much alcohol, you do too many drugs, when you're not used to, you know, use psychedelics, and you're not in control yet of your third eye, you cause blockages. The blockages happen, and sometimes it's the trauma that caused blockages because you froze up or whatever, and you have a blockage with your third eye, and you don't see the world clearly. But when you start to just sit with the energy of whatever happened, and you start to find healthy, high vibrational ways to fill that space for yourself, not looking for others to fill it for you. You start to find ways to fill for yourself. And, you know, a little bit at a time, those emotions come up. You can't do it all at one time, because sometimes you're going to have things come up and you're just not going to know what's happening. Why am I feeling this way? But when you know that you're feeling some kind of way, and you don't need to run to the alcohol to deal with it, like you could just sit with it, because you know you love yourself, and listen to yourself, listen to what you need. Yes, things will surface that you didn't expect. Things will come up, stories, things that maybe you forgot about. Have a good cry. Let it flow through, and you will find, like, people that work through this, you know, even like myself, you stop overeating. You don't even, when you have that, like, you notice, like, you'll notice the difference between when you're really hungry and when it's that void that either you created by blocking things out, or the void that was created through the trauma that you're holding on to, this void that needs this space, right? This space and time of whenever the trauma happened, that you're just trying to fill up with something so you don't have to deal with the pain. And when you finally are ready to open up and deal with it, you'll find, like, I don't need alcohol anymore to fill that up. It just is what it is. And a little bit at a time, you don't even think about it anymore. I mean, it's still there, but you don't think about it in the same way. You see it different. You see the world differently. Like I just said to you, you see the world as opposed to, like, my parents did this to me and my parents did that to me. You can see how the world and the way things are done has affected them and their parents before that, and how this led to your own trauma. And then this leads to you not repeating the trauma, or doing your best not to anyway. Nobody's perfect. But breaking that cycle of the trauma. And that's really hard to do, because that means that whatever you're doing to fill that void that the trauma left, Maybe you have to stop, at some point, you have to stop doing it because you've been filling yourself up with alcohol or drugs or whatever to fill that space. And we do it subconsciously because, of course, like if you drink, you have your first drink of alcohol and you're like, damn, that feels good. That feels good. Like, I don't have to think about anything, right? Alcohol is a spirit. It puts you in Delulu land, right? You take drugs, you go to Delulu land. You go shopping and you pretend like you're a millionaire shopping. You're in Delulu land, unless you're actually a millionaire. But all the shopping, all the drinking, all the drugs can't make you whole again. All the pretending, all the people pleasing, all the over functioning cannot make you whole again. And, I believe that everybody does this on their own timeline because we do it so we don't go crazy, right? Sometimes the experience is too painful to take it all in at one time. There's literally some type of neural dysfunction that happens in our body when we start to realize what has happened to us, right? Until we have, while we're making that mindset shift, while we're getting our mind together, while we're figuring out how we're gonna fill that void. As we're admitting to ourselves that the alcohol or the shopping or whatever else we were doing to be in Delulu land is not filling the void. It's just making things worse. It's actually maybe putting you in situations that are similar and maybe as traumatic as the event that you initially experienced. Why do you think people keep going through the same cycle over and over and over again? And everybody has their own timeline in how they deal with that. There's no judgment here about that. Believe me, I'm on my own timeline dealing with my traumas. But what I know is that if you can, start simple. Start figuring out what you really want, what you really don't want. And start there. Start saying no when you need to. Even when it feels uncomfortable. Even when the other person doesn't like it. And see where also you are requesting from others that they do things just because it makes you happy. Do you care if it makes them happy or not? Or do you just want to be happy? Are you the one? Are you perpetuating the behavior? Because sometimes we can do that without even thinking either, because they do it to us. That's why they say, what is it? Like, misery likes company, or what's the other saying? Like, hurt people hurt people. They don't always do it on purpose, but it's what you know. And so you do what you know. But once you know that what was done to you or what you're doing is not in the best light, then you can change it once you realize it. But you can't do it if you're unconscious all the time, right? So that's what, doing these things like these, people pleasing leaves us unconscious, because it gives us a false sense of, oh yeah, that now people love us, or now we're getting what we need. But are you? Are you getting what you need? You're over shopping. Are you getting what you need? Did you need all that stuff that you bought? You're over drinking. Did you need all that alcohol? Really? No, it just puts you into, made you delusional about what the situation is. And then you can just pretend like whatever you're feeling, you're not feeling it because you don't feel it. You just don't feel it, right? If you're high, you're drunk, like you're not feeling much of anything other than being high or drunk. And then, you know what? When you start to, that feeling starts to inch up again, you're just like, oh, yep, I'll just have some more to drink. So I don't have to think about it. I don't have to feel about it. I don't have to feel it. Anyhow, I'll probably split this up into 2 videos, part 1 and part 2, because it's quite long. But I want you all to think about this and drop me a comment. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. You know, I'm going to be talking about more about people pleasing and over functioning, you know, because as you let go of over functioning, there's a feeling that comes up that I can't explain, that you just want to run, because like when you stop, it's just something in you that feels like you should be doing something and letting yourself. Maybe that's why yoga is good, you know, because when you start to realize, yoga gives you that time to just be in your space by yourself without doing anything. It's the one practice that allows you to feel yourself, feel your body, get in touch with yourself and your feelings, which allows you to get in touch with your inner child. Okay, I'm rambling again. I gotta go. All right, so drop me a comment. Let me know what you think about this, and I will see you in the next one.